All right, welcome to the Sistas Talk Podcast. I'm your host, Danny M, and today we have special guest, Miss Aiysa Carroll. How are you doing today?
Hi. I'm well, thank you. How are you?
Pretty good. You have some outstanding accolades. I mean, there's so many different things going on in your life, so many wonderful things, and I was so happy to have you on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so grateful.
Yeah, I was happy to even be able to catch you. I mean, you're doing a lot. So let's see, I'm going to read because there's so many. I'm not kidding, guys. Like, she is a life coach, mentor, trauma educator, motivational speaker, and consultant. And I don't think I put in there, you're an author.
Yes, ma'am.
Is an author, guys. And let them know. Give them some information and background on who you are first.
Okay, so I have been mentoring for, I say 15 years based on my age, but I really started mentoring when I was about 16 years old. And I'll be 37, so that's probably more than 15 years. But, I started mentoring when I was 16 years old. I would mentor the younger girls when I was in church and just to guide them and give them instructions and be like that big sister someone didn't have when, if they were home or they felt they couldn't talk to their parents about things. And I enjoyed it. It's just something I naturally did. So I was like a youth leader in church and things like that. And so that progressed into me becoming a life coach. And I've always had a passion for children. I've always had a passion to help children. And so with me being a life coach, a certified life coach, I specialize in helping individuals who deal with childhood trauma. And I use my own experience from childhood trauma to help my clients. And I provide services in schools. So I have a program I created called Encouraging Young Champions. And that program basically provides services to students who have dealt with childhood trauma, any type of trauma, grief, bullying. And I teach them healthy coping mechanisms like meditation. I teach them how to re-channel their anger and actually release their anger and emotion so that it won't build up. Goodness, I do so much. Like you said, I don't remember everything.
I'm thinking while you're telling me these amazing things, I'm like, where does she find the time? This is amazing.
Thank you. I'm not sure. And I do have two beautiful children as well. So my babies, they're supportive. My daughter is supportive. My son's supportive as well. And so the things that I teach and the tools that I give the children in the schools, I also give to my own children. Yeah. So my children are very aware of meditation. They're very aware of mindfulness and grounding mechanisms. And so, what I instill is something that's not in our community. We don't really know much about meditation. I know from my experience, I thought meditation was like, oh, you just sit down and and just sit quiet and do nothing. Yeah. But it's so many different forms of meditation that can be fun and educational, and children experience things in different ways. And with the meditation that I use, when I worked with middle school students, they actually enjoyed it, and they allowed it to be a tool for them going forward.
Nice.
Yeah. So I'm also finishing up a book that I'm writing. And the name of my book is called Survivor Not by Chance. And this book was inspired based on my own life. And so I grew up in a poverty-stricken area. My biological mother was addicted to drugs, as well as my biological grandmother. And, just from speaking to me, a lot of people don't know I had a rough childhood. But once I go into it and I just give them more details and backgrounds of my experiences, I'm more relatable to people. And, initially I was embarrassed. I was afraid to be outspoken about my experiences, but I felt there was someone, even if it's just one person they can hear my story and feel inspired to keep going and to move forward and know that they're not going to be stuck in a situation where they'll never get out of it. You know, I was told growing up, you're going to be just like your mother. You're going to be a statistic. You're going to be on welfare. You're going to be on drugs. You're going to have a million, like not a million, but you're going to have like 5 kids and you're going to be on a welfare system. So I wanted to prove everyone wrong. And I'm grateful I've been able to so
you
far.
are doing that. You are proving them wrong.
So, you know, I'm just grateful that, and most importantly, faith has been the pivotal point, the pivotal thing to help me move forward. I'm not as religious as most people. I do believe in God, but I just don't believe in organized religion as most people do.
I don't think most people. I think they're more like you. I think people are waking up.
Okay. So
I think we caught the wave this year.
Yeah. And you know, the other thing is too, what people don't realize is that the power of what you speak into the atmosphere determines who you are, determines what your outcomes are going to be, and it determines where your future is going to be. And so I've been very intentional, especially within the last 2 years. I've been very intentional in regards to what I say, what I do. If my son says something and I know it's negative, I automatically redirect him, because I want to get that practice I want him to get the practice of knowing what you say comes to life. And if you are saying, oh, well, I'm never going to do this, you're never going to do it. But if you say, I want to do such and such, eventually you keep saying it and you will. And I'm going to give you an amazing example. When I was in high school, I was in foster care, but my foster mother was a family friend. And I knew, because I had a foster mom, she couldn't afford to send me to college. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, well, I don't know what I'm going to do. So I intentionally started saying every day, I think from like March, my senior year, until June, every day I said, I'm going to get a full scholarship to college. I'm going to get a full scholarship to college. And I just kept saying it. And it was like the end of May. And some of our friends, they were getting scholarships and they were coming in. And I'm like, I didn't have any. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do. But I still kept saying it. And fortunately enough for me, it actually worked. I graduated from college like without any debt. Mm-hmm. I had full scholarships. I had multiple scholarships. I had one scholarship I received was called the Lancelot H. Owen Scholarship. It's a scholarship that Queen Latifah gives. I received another scholarship called the Baker Family Foundation Scholarship, which pays for whatever remaining balance I had for school. So if I owed $12,000 for one semester, they paid the remaining balance. Wow. I also received quite a few scholarships and grants. And so to the point where I literally didn't have to pay for school, and my books were included in everything. So that just shows the power of you speaking life into yourself. Other people can say things for you, and other people can say, oh, well, you're going to get a great job. But if you don't believe it, it's not going to happen. Yep. So it's just taking authority over your life and taking authority over yourself, and that'll push you into your destiny. So I think that's the most powerful thing. And currently, I'm working on being an advocate. So I advocate for children, minority children everywhere. Mm-hmm. And I'm pushing to see if we can change the laws in schools and the rules and regulations of how the schools run. So we all know systematic racism exists in the school system, and majority of
everywhere.
Well, yeah, for sure, everywhere. But in the school system, it's definitely there, and the school system does not acknowledge that it exists. They don't care that it exists, and they don't want change because it wasn't designed to educate our students. It was designed to educate white students. And so therefore, say for example, I'll give you one short, quick example. The middle school in my area where I live is Holbein Middle School. 44% of white students attend that school. 7% of those students are suspended. 32% of Black students attend that school. 31% of those students are suspended or expelled.
Wow.
That's a huge disparity in regards to disciplinary actions for Black students.
For sure.
And so I'm advocating for those students, because if our students are being disciplined to those drastic measures, they're being expelled and they're being labeled. And now they're being expelled and labeled to the point where they're not going to be able to get into college, one. They're going to have a record and they're going to feel that everyone's against them. They don't have anyone to protect them or take care of them or help them and guide them.
Yeah.
So we need to bring change in that way. And so I'm advocating for those children there. So I am doing a lot.
Yeah, you are.
I strategically plan my day. I have a calendar on my phone, and it's like bubbles all over.
That calendar runs my life too. Don't feel bad. Yes, I love it. I love it. I really like the fact that you honed in on positive affirmations. That's so important. Regardless of whatever religion anybody practices, or
Exactly.
if you're non-religious, positive affirmations are key to anybody's success, happiness, whatever it is that you want in life. You can definitely get it through positive affirmations. And like Miss Aiysa explained, if you don't believe it, everybody else can see it in you and believe it for you. But if you don't believe it, it's not going to manifest, period.
Exactly. Right.
So I love that. I love that. You're doing so much good for your community. And if you haven't already, maybe consider doing a nonprofit organization, because you can get a lot of grant money to push you forward in that journey of racial disparities inside of the school systems. Because it definitely is something that needs to change, you know?
Yes.
So you gave us some background, but I want to know more of what inspired you to write your book. Can you give us a little information, the title, what inspired you to create that name for your book?
Sure. So, ironically, I would say maybe 5 years ago, maybe longer, I can't remember exactly. On my Instagram account, I had my name. And for work purposes, I didn't want to be found. So I do have a day job, by the way. So for work purposes, I didn't want to be searchable. So I was trying to come up with some type of title that could represent myself. And I look at myself not as a victim. I don't look at myself as someone who just allowed anything to happen to them. I look at myself as a survivor. And so I said, what would be catchy? What would be a catchy title? And I said, oh, I survived. I'm a survivor, not by chance. And so that was my Instagram name. And so I took my Instagram name, Survivor Not By Chance, and I created my company, Survivor Not By Chance. And then from that, I said, oh, that would be a great title for my book as well. So everything just literally corresponded. And so I'm going to explain what Survivor Not By Chance means. For me, I know everyone has challenges. Everyone has obstacles they have to face. But some people make it through those challenges and obstacles and others don't. The people who do are survivors. And they survive not by chance because it just happened. They fought to survive. They had to put in work to get to that point to survive. And so that's why I came up with the title Survivor Not By Chance. Now, in regards to me wanting to write a book, I remember when I was a kid, I wanted to write about my life because I always knew I was different from everyone else in my family. Even the way I speak, I'm from Newark, New Jersey, and where I'm from, they don't consider the way I speak as, they call it proper or,
Or that
white.
you're talking white.
Yeah.
Yeah. We hear that all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Not me. I talk black. Everybody knows that. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. So, as a result, I knew I was different.
Mhm.
And so I always knew that even with my academics, I knew I was different. Wanting to achieve good grades was different from where I was from. So I don't know how I felt it. I just wanted to prove I was not like everyone else. And so I said, one day I'm going to tell my story to people. And I didn't know when I would do it, but I just knew I would. And so when I would say after I had my first child around 2006, I tried to start writing.
Mhm.
And it was flowing for a bit, and then I just had writer's block, like out of nowhere. And then, computers from 2006 to computers now are completely different.
Major difference.
Right. We don't use floppy disk anymore. And so all of my work was literally saved on a floppy disk.
Uh-huh.
Most kids don't even know what a floppy disk is. So,
Yeah.
so of course I lost all of that. And then last year I started a healing journey, and I call it a healing journey because I literally had an epiphany that I wasn't completely healed from my trauma. I don't know where it came from or what made me realize it, but I started doing a lot of research and learning about adverse childhood experiences and learning about what the ACE questionnaire is and how the ACE score affects your mortality rate. And so the adverse childhood experience is basically a study that was done by some researchers to determine why certain people have trauma, PTSD, depression, obesity. It's so many different aspects of it. So when I started learning about that, I was like, wow, maybe I do need to figure out how to get some of these emotions out, because sometimes I would have outbursts, not like public outbursts, but outbursts like within my friendships where I would be defensive, and it was no reason to be defensive, but those were little bits and pieces from my trauma coming up and spewing over unnecessarily. So I started a healing journey to teach me how to cope, teach me how to not only cope, but to acknowledge my triggers when I have them, to not only acknowledge my triggers when I have them, but bring myself back and know that I'm in a safe space and know that those triggers were from my past, and what I'm experiencing is not real. It's not happening to me right at this moment. And so I started a podcast, Survivor Not by Chance, to document my healing journey. And I did it as a precursor to my book. I didn't realize a year later, the book would start, unfolding. And so basically that's how it came to.
That's awesome. You manifested your book.
Thank you. Yes. Speaking it into existence.
Yeah, seriously, that is amazing. That was a very good way of inspiring yourself to write a book. I think that's amazing. I also like your transparency. And I also like the fact that you took initiative towards your own healing, because a lot of people haven't found their way yet into that dimension of themselves. So that's amazing. Very proud of you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. Yes. So who influenced your literary work? Is there any one particular person? Would it be you? Would it be several people that you know in your life?
It's funny. When I would say like 15, 16, I was really into reading at that time. And I loved, and this is going to sound so weird to some people, but I loved reading autobiographies. I loved it. Like, it inspired me so much. And the first one I can remember reading is I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings by Maya Angelou.
Yes.
And I knew of Maya Angelou, and I knew the Phenomenal Woman poem, and I loved how she constructed it and how she talked about our beauty. And I've never seen anyone talk about a Black woman like that ever in my life. So I was like, oh, wow, that's amazing. Like, maybe I could be that one day. Yeah. And then once I started reading her book, and I didn't realize it was an autobiography until like deep into it. And I'm like, wait a minute, she experienced it?
Right.
And look how powerful she is.
Mm-hmm.
And then from that moment, I was like, I definitely have to write something eventually. I don't know when. But just hearing her story, hearing her experience. And then because I love reading so much, I read The Color Purple.
Oh, my favorite movie. Oh my God, never read the book, but my favorite movie, hands down.
The Color Purple was my favorite movie. So after reading I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, I said, well, I have to read The Color Purple because I know books are always better than the movie.
Yeah, that's
and
what
the movie was like 2 hours long. So I'm like, this book has to be awesome. And when I read it, I was like, when I read I Know Why a Caged Bird Sings and The Color Purple, those two books stood out in my head. That made me realize my experiences were real and my experiences were not normal, and that someone could heal or be helped from my story, because I felt somewhat of a healing from reading I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. And my part of my healing was acknowledging that I experienced trauma, acknowledging that it was okay, and acknowledging it was not my fault. Because at that point, I was in high school and no one knew I was in foster care. No one knew that. My best friend did not know until I graduated, till our senior year, that I did not live with my biological mother.
Wow.
To this day, it's so many people that are so confused about me telling little bits and pieces of my story, because they're like, you live with your mother. What are you talking about?
Right. Yeah. But that was a form of your protection. I totally get it. You know, I totally get it. And you have every right to protect you, right? So I get it.
Thank you.
With that, I want to ask you, what kind of challenges did you face along the way and prepping yourself to write this book and finishing it out? You know, a lot of us start projects and we don't always see it through.
Right. So one thing I will say is I have an amazing team. And I'm not sure if I can say the name of my team or not, but
yeah, you can. Okay. I mean, if it's okay with them, it's definitely okay with me.
No, yeah, for sure. So I work with LV Productions, LV Media, and they're helping me publish my book. They're helping me with the editing and everything, and they are on me. Like, they hold me accountable. They make sure that I'm reading through things and I'm adding things here, and like, we have dates and timelines for certain. That accountability is what's helping me stay on task and on target. And then, not to mention, not only that, but it's the challenging part is reliving the trauma.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you that. I swear. I was like, I don't know if I should. I'm sitting here in amazement as you're going, recapping, you know, your history, your story as a little girl. And I'm like, is this affecting her right now in this moment? But I'm saying also, like, she's so strong, because I would be shedding tears, reliving these moments, you know? You're amazing.
Thank you so much. So it does affect me. But what I'm doing is, I pay very close attention to my moods. I pay close attention to my emotions. And so during this time span, if I feel I'm being affected, I'll just tell my team, you know, this chapter really got to me. Give me a moment. I need to basically meditate, because I meditate often. And I have like a certain process that I use to help exert that negative energy and not to assume it, let it consume me. So
right.
That is the hugest challenge. Reliving the trauma, revisiting these experiences, and then I have to reassure myself I am in a safe space. I do have something called PTSD as a result of my childhood trauma. And so I try to be very vocal about that. A lot of people don't understand PTSD. Yes, it is a condition that most people in the military get, but people get PTSD from so many different aspects of life and don't know that they're experiencing PTSD. For me, my PTSD was nightmares, triggers with, say if I smelt something, I would be triggered. Wow. Or if I heard something, I would be triggered. If I saw something on television, I would be triggered. I personally cannot watch boxing. It's too violent for me. That could be a trigger that some people don't realize it's a trigger for them. So just realizing those triggers and knowing how to stay calm in that moment and soothing yourself. And if you have a partner or a family member you're close to, allowing them to know right now, I feel like I'm being triggered. And so I need a moment, you know. And in our community, we don't take those moments that we need. We just keep going. So that has been my challenge in writing a book. But, you know, thanks to my great team.
For
being
sure.
Accountable and understanding that I, have triggers and that sometimes I may know I need to take a break from reading and writing. So it helps. It balances.
Good. It takes a village for sure.
Yes.
And thank you for sharing with us, because a lot of people don't know what PTSD is. We hear the term, but no, I'm sure a lot of us don't take time to research or find out. A lot of us have friends and family members who suffer from it, and they may not even know that they do. Right. So that's the reason why it's so important, especially in the Black communities, to go out and seek counseling. Get that help that you need. See a doctor to see, so that they can diagnose you with the proper condition, and you can go find a solution for it. And the first step is counseling. I'm not going to say it's always medication, because that's what the doctors are there for. They'll let you know. I don't know. But, there's other forms of non-medical solutions, right? So
absolutely.
Keep the doorways open for that. And so let's roll into the next question. So you gave us some of the challenges. I absolutely understand why. Triggers are issues for everybody, right?
Yes.
I mean, I can get triggered over anything. My husband didn't cook because I was busy all day. That's a trigger.
Yeah.
I just want to lighten up. Let me move on. So I think you kind of answered this already. I wanted to know, who is your support system? During times like this, when you're busy with a loaded schedule, when you're trying to finish books and projects and meet up with people, have very important meetings, investment meetings, how are you supported? Is it family? Is it friends? Is it a combination?
I think it's a combination. I have had some challenging relationships with my family. More importantly, based on because I'm not like everyone else. So we have a lot of miscommunication and misunderstandings. But when I can say my grandmother, who is not my biological grandmother, by the way, but my grandmother has been like the absolute most supportive person in my life. And she taught me what unconditional love is. And so as a result, if I feel down, I would call her and have a conversation with her. And she'll always say something to make me smile or make me feel better. My children, even though they're so young, they inspire me to do better. They inspire me to be a better person. And they inspire me to keep working and going harder. And, I have literally a few close friends that I can call at any time of the day. One of my friends, I called him at was 6 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And he answered. And then I have another friend, I can call her, my best friend. I can call her at 2 o'clock in the morning. She will answer. So just, making sure you have a good support system will push you in whatever direction you need to go in. And so I'm grateful for my support.
I love it. Wow. So you kind of answered the next question I was going to ask. Any advice for those looking towards, any advice for people who are facing difficulties? Like, say they have some projects that they want to do. They're just like, I want to open a business, but that's what we always stop our blessings when we say, but I have this to do. I have this to do. But what advice would you give those people who feel like they're overwhelmed? 2020 has knocked the wind out of most of us, literally.
Yes. Yes.
So what would you say? What would be your piece of advice?
My advice would be, number one, do a deep dive and search yourself. Look in the mirror and ask yourself, do I like what I see? And if you don't, figure out what you need to do to get to how you can like what you see in the mirror. Because every day you have to look in the mirror and be happy with what you see. No matter what you do, pleasing someone else or doing this for that person, or, letting somebody borrow $20, or, helping someone with their projects. No one's going to be accountable for your projects. Nobody's going to be accountable for your future. You have to take control of it. And when you do a deep dive into healing your inner you, your inner child, that would automatically open up so many opportunities for you. And the most important part is having faith. If you don't have faith in a creator, you have to have faith in yourself. If you don't believe in yourself and affirm yourself, nothing's going to work. And just do it. Don't say, oh, well, I don't have the money to do it. Around tax time, everyone looks forward to tax time. Mm-hmm. Next year, tax time, write down what you want to do before you get to that point. And when you get your tax return, if you want to open a business, you take that, say $125 out of your tax return to start your LLC. And then from there, you just allow yourself to network with people, put yourself in position to be around positive people. Because if you have people around you that are only gossiping or only talking and speaking negative, that negativity is going to live inside you. So surrounding yourself around positive people, believing in yourself, and taking action. If you don't take action, you'll stay in the same situation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Wow. Oh, you're so awesome. Okay.
Thank you.
I'm serious. I mean, you're nailing it. It's refreshing to talk to someone like you that knows your own issues and you're taking the necessary steps to solve your own problems. Like, I mean, that's called real accountability. And a lot of us need to learn from this podcast today because it's so much good information coming out right now. So let's go into the next question.
Sure.
If you could choose a country besides America to promote your book. Now, we know right now a lot of international borders are closed out to us specifically because we didn't do the necessary protocol when everything went down. That's okay. That's neither here nor there now. But, let's just say if it wasn't in this particular case, what country would you choose to promote your book right now?
So I'm going to be quite upfront. Geography is not my best subject.
Okay, throw something out there. I'll see if I can track where you're trying to go. What part of the globe you're talking about? I have a globe in here.
Yeah. I've met a lot of people from the UK, and I like the way people there think. They are so on point when it comes to mental health, from my experience, I should say. And they take mental health very seriously. And so I've actually had clients out there, And with the UK, United Kingdom, a lot of people there not only go to counseling, but they go to counseling and they also have like anxiety specialists. They also have life coaches. So it's so many different varieties of ways.
And look, they also have free medical too. That helps, right?
Yes. Exactly.
That helps a lot.
Right. So I've already started promoting my book in that area.
Great.
But just the way that they accept mental health as a priority more than here.
Mm-hmm.
We're just now starting to, even in our, especially in our community, in the Black community, we're just starting to recognize how important and how serious it is to be conscious of practicing good mental health tactics and opening up about trauma, acknowledging it, being accountable for our parts and what happened to us. But they've already been doing that. And I don't know, I guess just the fact that they're so open about it, and it's not like
it's not a stigma.
Right.
It's
not a stigma over there like it is here.
It's horrible here. Anyways, I'll take the good with the bad. It is what it is. So next question, what new projects do we have to look forward for you, either ending this year in 2020 or to come?
Sure. So definitely look out for Survivor Not by Chance. By the way, it is on pre-sale order, and I will be signing every copy that's purchased on pre-sale.
You'll get a signed book.
And you can go to my website, www.survivornotbychance.com, and you can get your copy there. Also, I will be starting my podcast back. I can't say exactly for sure because it's kind of hard juggling and managing all of these things that I'm doing.
I know. Yeah.
But hopefully within the next month or two, I want to start documenting my journey, and then I'm going to start documenting, like interviewing people and just getting people's perspectives in regards to trauma, childhood trauma, in regards to advocacy for our children. So from there, we'll move forward that way. And then I do have some speaking engagements that will be coming up soon. I spoke at the Martin Luther King Jr. Day here in town, where I live in Mount Holly, New Jersey. And it was something else I did. I can't remember. But I do, I did a diversity and inclusion training.
Nice.
Where I just basically give instructions and information in regards to being diverse and microaggressions and implicit bias. So I do a lot of different trainings and speaking engagements, as well as the book and the podcast. So
a lot, a lot, but necessary. We thank you too. So I want you to, before we wrap up, I really hate to wrap up. Before we go, I have two more questions. One question is, because I know you and I spoke in the background, we talked about how we feel like women, especially Black women, aren't protected. Yes. And there's so many examples of that right here in this country.
Yes.
What would be your advice to women who are in situations where they feel unprotected by family, unprotected by their work, their coworkers? What is just give someone that's listening to us today some advice on how to move forward with that situation?
I would say not to be afraid to speak up. Your voice is the most powerful thing you can use to defend and advocate for yourself. If you don't advocate for yourself, no one else will. And not only advocate for yourself, but join in with other Black women who are experiencing situations where they don't feel protected. Join in and help them. Don't allow them to just sit back and fight alone. That's the reason why we aren't protected, because we don't stick together. The more we stick together, the more we use our voice, the more powerful we can be.
Love it. Love it. Best advice you
Thank
can
you.
give. Also, last question. Let everybody know where they can find your website. I know you already mentioned it, but say it again. Any social media platforms, any email address, whatever the best contact is for your listeners today.
Sure. So my website is hopefully I didn't say too many W's, but I'll do it again. www.survivornotbychance.com. On Instagram, you can find me at Survivor Not By Chance. Facebook, you can find me at Survivor Not By Chance. On Twitter, I believe it's Nikki J Survivor, because I couldn't use Survivor Not By Chance on Twitter for some reason. I'm not sure, but
Maybe somebody took it already.
Somebody probably have it already. Yeah. My email address is survivornotbychance@gmail.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Wonderful interview. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
Thank you
Even
so
had
much
some
for having me.
healing. Just had some healing even listening to you, because I told you in so many ways we are so alike. So we definitely want to thank our listeners for tuning in today. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's Sistas Talk Podcast, all one word. Make sure you download the app. It's on Apple stores now. Yay!
That's
and Google
awesome.
Play. Just type Sisters space Talk space Podcast. Do not type SPACE. I'm saying click the space bar, people. Sistas Talk Podcast, and you'll be able to tune into our shows. We'll air this all throughout this week. So you'll be able to hear this for 7 days straight. All right. So you guys have a great evening, and thank you again for listening to the Sistas Talk Podcast. We'll see you next Sunday from 3 to 4 p.m. Central Standard Time.